Welcome to today's episode. My name is Alex and welcome to the channel. If you are listening on podcast, you're listening on YouTube, please drop a like and also drop a comment. Questions are also equally welcome. If you love this, just hit us up and let us know that you're enjoying our content. Today on this episode, we want to take some time and speak to you and explain the new Startup Act. So if you don't know, on 19th October 2022, His Excellency the President of Nigeria came up or signed into law the Nigerian Startup Act 2022. And by signing of the bill, it became a law, and it's called the Startup Act, which really it's a provision that government has put in place to support and help companies in technology, innovation space here in Nigeria. But I am not the expert. That is why we have here Don with us this morning, who is going to throw more light on this Startup Act. And so Don, let's just dive straight in. What is this whole Startup Act about?
Okay, so the Startup Act is basically creating a framework for startups in Nigeria to ensure they have a safe landing, a safe space for their businesses, to ensure they are provided financial support, as we see while exploring some of the provisions of the Act, that they are able to run smoothly, and also that they are regulatory compliant, because it is one thing to run a business, it is another thing to ensure while running your business it complies with some of the guidelines or regulations struck by government. That's primarily the purpose of this.
And does it have any particular sectors that this act seeks to support? Are there particular businesses it's aimed at?
Okay, so a general overview of the act, it will appear that most tech businesses are being targeted. But we'll also discover that it could be in various spaces, because you have incentives for people at the pioneer sector under the NIPC. So, and those people, they are not just tech oriented, it could be agribusiness. So, whatever business you are doing that is within not less than 10 years, not above 10 years, you can come under the startup.
So, what you are basically saying is that the Startup Act is not limited to a particular sector or business activity. As long as it is a new business or enterprise that you have started in Nigeria and it's less than 10 years old as a business, not more than 10 years, thank you, you qualify to actually apply to be considered as a startup under this act. Okay. So what agency of government in Nigeria is responsible for regulating this whole Startup Act?
Okay, so under the Act, we have the Council, which is the body that is empowered to administer or perform some of the duties that have been stated under the Act. So this is the body that will be in charge of the operations. So there's we cannot tell, like it just came out, if it will be an already existing agency, because it was a new name. But with time, we'll get to know the body that has been empowered, but it's called the Council under the Act.
I'm just curious, let me ask again, is there an age limit for, let's say, the business owner who wants to apply to be considered under this act? Is there a gender? Is there an age requirement or limit? Is there anything like that?
Okay, so the only limit that's provided under the act is that your business must not be above 10 years. So once it exceeds that 10 years, then you are no longer a startup. So it could be
but it has nothing to do with you, the business owner, the age of the business owner, or the person starting the business.
No. The age of the business owner would just fall back to the provisions, because under the Act, it states that businesses must comply with already existing laws governing their business, governing whichever sector. So, and under the CAC, you cannot register a business with a minor in it.
Sure.
Even if there is a minor, there has to be like at least 2 adults, a in the business. So you will still go by those rules. So it doesn't mean that there is an age range that is provided under the act. You just fall back to already existing laws.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've learned that what the act is about, the council is in charge. How does one who is a startup, a business watching or listening to us on this podcast or video startup, how do you actually get into this? How do you assess it? How do you get into it?
So the requirements for applying as a startup is that first and foremost you must be, like we had earlier said, be a business that's no more than 10 years.
Okay.
And it's called startup labeling under the act.
Okay.
So there's the term is startup labeling.
Okay.
So they label you a startup.
Okay.
And it's given as a certificate.
Okay.
You are being handed a certificate for 10 years. That certificate is valid for 10 years.
Okay.
So you must be a company or a sole proprietorship that has been incorporated. So first and foremost, you need to register with
your business. Okay.
Yeah, you need to register with.
Which means that all the young people who are doing business very informal, are not qualified. So you recommend that you first get your business registered at the CAC. Okay.
So when you register your business, then you make sure that for foreign businesses, you have local shareholding. Okay. Which is Nigerians holding shares in the country.
Is there a prescribed minimum for Nigerians?
No, say like 50%, but there has to be a fraction of local shareholding in the business.
Can it be 10% Nigerian owned?
No, that's too small.
Okay.
That's too small. Let's just say 50% shareholding. And then your objective as a business has to be innovation. Okay. You have to be innovative as a business to benefit from some of these provisions under the Startup Act. So, and then a holding company cannot apply to be labeled as a startup if the company it is under is not a startup. Okay. So those are some of the provisions. That's pretty much the requirement for applying to be labeled as a startup.
The part that is a little bit tricky for me is a part about innovation. You know, innovation is quite broad and it's also quite subjective, but I guess definitely government also is interested in knowing that whatever business they are supporting is also bringing some additional value or bringing some change or something new into the space, not just supporting any business at all who is just replicating what is there for the sake of being labeled under the act. Okay, so you talked about the requirements, quite interesting. What about the incentive? So what do you get for being part or being labeled as a startup under the act?
Okay, so there are lots of benefits to be labeled as a startup in Nigeria. Under the act, it's provided that once you are labeled as a startup, they have a startup portal. So on this portal, some of the registrations or licenses and permits that you need to obtain, you'll be able to get it faster. So they have a fast track process.
Okay. So that's number one. Yes. After you are labeled, you get faster or fast track
services.
Okay.
So from CBN, from CAC, from NIPC, from TAP and all of that, your processes will be faster than usual. And then there are tax incentives. Okay. So if you qualify under the pioneer status with NIPC, you would be given a certain percentage of tax incentive. Yeah. And then there's also the tax relief. So you can be given tax holidays for up to 5 years as a business. Wow. They have requirements. They will just roll out some of these plans later on as time goes by. They'll roll out requirements for all of this, but you just know that you have tax incentive being provided.
That's very good. 5 years, up to 5 years income tax holiday.
Up to 5 years. And then these companies who render services to label startups are also entitled to a certain percentage of tax relief. Okay. So it's a win-win situation. So when you have in-house, also when you have in-house training for your employees for the period where you are being labeled as a startup, you are also entitled to incentives. Okay. So just like that, there are lots of benefits to be labeled as a startup in Nigeria. So as time goes on, we'll be informed of how some of these incentives will apply to different businesses.
But is this currently in full force as a law?
No. So it was just signed into law last month. And the different states will begin to domesticate these laws to make sure they apply to their environment.
Okay.
So once that is done, then government will begin to roll out plans of how to enforce this law to the council and then the secretariat. The council operates, there's a secretariat that's been created under the Act, operates on behalf of the council. So they would start rolling out plans of how some of these things will start working because under the Act we have fast track process. So how does this thing happen? There's a startup portal. So they will begin to inform us of how some of these things will start to happen. But one thing is sure is that it will definitely happen because it is now illegal.
Awesome. Good. Did you talk about any funding opportunities for those who are labeled under the Act?
Okay, so
it's a very important matter.
Labeled under the Act, you are entitled to seed funding.
Okay.
So the Startup Act provides for a seed fund.
Okay.
And then the council would approve after going through your documents and all of that, inspection and all, they would approve a certain amount of funding for you.
Okay.
So you are also entitled to, it's more like catering for businesses.
Okay.
For startups. So you are entitled to funding, and the least amount of funding annually that's going into this
the pool, the fund,
is 10 billion naira.
Wow.
That's the least that they will accept. So
could be more.
There could be more. So imagine how that will impact businesses. So it will go a long way to help this. So when you're being provided funding, you have tax incentives and all of that. That's a lot for a business. Because
I mean,
fast track licenses and all of that, so you can work better.
No, that's really good because I can imagine that for a startup in Nigeria, even if government from the 10 billion naira pool, you apply and you are lucky and you meet all the requirements and you are able to access even 10 million naira, I think as a startup, you can actually start something. I think you can actually start something. So it's definitely a good thing, and I'm really happy for Nigerian startup businesses. I'm excited that this is something that the government has been able to put in place. We hope that the other states or the federal government would also take it up and be able to implement this fully across the country so that entrepreneurs and startups will really benefit. Don, any last words on the Startup Act before we round it up?
Well, I would advise that our audience stay glued to our Instagram page, our website, because we will be dropping posts from time to time as the government drops their own to informing you of how this act is going to apply to your business and also providing professional assistance because definitely we would love to render help wherever necessary. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Don. It's been great having you. So guys, you heard it all. Please like, subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Nigerian Business Snap Podcast. Feel free to leave your questions in the comment section and we'll respond accordingly. Do visit our website www.famousnigerian.com and see how we can add value to what you do in the areas of regulatory compliance, market research, and trade development. The link to the website is in the description box. Do subscribe, download, and share our podcast with your partners. Thank you and catch you on the next episode. Bye.